I've been reading this book. It's called Kosovo Crisis by Vojin Joksimovic, and I must say it's very fascinating. He talks about the history of Serbia, the history of Kosovo, and he talks about how Serbia was under Ottoman occupation for 500 years. Imagine that. 500 years under Ottoman occupation, and Serbia is still Christian today. Now, there were Serbs who converted to Islam. Today we call them Bosnians. But Serbia today is a country that is still Christian, regardless of the fact that it was under the occupation of an Islamic empire. Now compare that to Turkey. Turkey used to be Greek Christian. Turkey used to have the center of Eastern Christianity, Constantinople. Today it's called Istanbul. And what was once the seat of Eastern Christianity is now simply just a puppet of the Turkish government. The Constantinople Patriarchate today, ever since the Turks took over Constantinople, the Constantinople Patriarchate has been a puppet of the Turkish Muslims. And the people who lived in Anatolia, they converted to Islam. That's why today they are all Muslim. They were once Greek Christian. They were once Eastern Orthodox. Now they are Muslim. Why? Because their ancestors converted to Islam. Now, when the Ottomans were occupying Serbia, they were trying to get people to convert to Islam, and they got a lot of people to convert to Islam. The Albanians converted to Islam. And one of the ways that the way that the Ottomans would get you to convert to Islam is they would either force you or they would use money. They would say, if you convert to Islam, you're going to have much more access to wealth. You're going to have better opportunities to get more money. And so a lot of people converted to Islam because they wanted money. So the fact that the Serbs, the people in Serbia today, the fact that their ancestors did not convert to Islam, they were so stubborn, it tells me a lot about the people. And that is why when NATO tries to push its religion, right, the religion of the Republic of Sodom, the Serbs and the Russians are the most resilient to this stuff. They are the most combative against this ideology. NATO wants people to come before its altars, its idols, and NATO wants people to pledge allegiance to this agenda. NATO countries want people to pledge allegiance to this agenda. But the Serbs and the Russians resist. Now, Poland has been very resistant to this religion as well. So I have to give credit to where credit is due. What I am seeing, and this is really quite obvious, is that a lot of Slavic people are more resistant to this stuff than Westerners are. And Russia is the last guard of Christianity. It is. Russia is the last guard of Christianity. It is a majority Christian country. It's extremely against the religion of the Republic of Sodom. Extremely against this stuff. Very resistant. It's only a very small minority of Russians who support it. And a lot of them leave. They go to Denmark or the Netherlands or America or wherever. And it's a major military superpower. It's the last guard of Christendom. It's the last guard of Christianity. England is not Christendom. America is not Christendom. Italy is not Christendom. These are all skeletons of their former selves. America, and scratch America off that one, because America was never Christendom to begin with. America was a country founded on the Enlightenment, which was very anti-Christian. So America was never Christendom. And this idea that America is Christendom is really just some weird trad fantasy that it's a chimera that lives in their brains. It doesn't exist. It's not really built on reality. But when it comes to Europe, when it comes to European lands, there is no Christendom. Russia is the last guard of Christianity. Serbia is one of the last bastions of true Christianity, and it's one of the few countries in the world that truly, truly fights this evil, insidious religion. It's one of the very few countries in Europe that fights this sort of thing, that fights this evil. And there's a reason why these people are that way. They inherit it. Their ancestors were under Ottoman occupation for hundreds of years, and they refused to convert, even with the temptation of getting more money. They did not convert to Islam, but the people of Anatolia did. The people of Anatolia did. Turkey used to be Greek Christian. It used to be Eastern Orthodox. It used to have the center of Eastern Christianity. No more. It doesn't exist. The Constantinople Patriarchate is now a puppet of the Turkish government. It's a puppet of a country that has fully adopted the Arab branch of the Arian heresy. And what's so fascinating is that Serbia and Russia received Christianity from Anatolia, from what is today known as Turkey. And it was only called Turkey after the end of World War I. Before that, it was called Anatolia. So Serbia and Russia received Christianity from Anatolia. Now they are enemies of Anatolia. I find that so fascinating. The country that you received Christianity from is now your enemy. The country that once had the center of Eastern Christianity is now an enemy of Christianity. That's phenomenal. I mean, it's surreal. It really is the word I'm looking for. It's surreal, but it's not that surprising. Why? Because God founded his temple in Israel only to later become an enemy of Israel, only to later destroy that very temple, only to later use the Romans as a scourge to destroy that temple. So God founded the temple and destroyed the temple. God founded the church in Constantinople because it's a church, it's under God's providence, it's founded by God, absolutely. God founded the church in Constantinople, and through that church brought the message of Christ to the Serbs and to the Russians and to the other Slavic peoples. And now those people who got Christianity from Anatolia are enemies of the very land that they received Christianity from. God founded the church in Constantinople, and now that church is a puppet for an anti-Christian government, and it's under the control of people who subscribe to an anti-Christian religion, Islam. So those people were once Christian. They left Christianity for Unitarianism. So they were with God, but then they became against God. Then they went against God. So Russia received Christianity from Constantinople, received Christianity from Anatolia. Now Russia is an enemy of Anatolia. And it had many wars with Anatolia and won all of them. Russia had many wars with Turkey, with the Ottomans, and won all of them. Serbia received Christianity from Anatolia, only to later be conquered by Anatolia, only to later be massacred by Anatolia. Christianity came from Israel, and the church was massacred by Israel. The church was persecuted by Israel. God founded the temple, and that very temple persecuted God's people. It's surreal, and it really goes to show that God does not guarantee that he's going to put up with you just because he founded you. Just because he founded your church doesn't mean he's going to put up with your church. So just because God founded something does not mean that he's going to exempt that thing once that thing turns away from God. God may find something, God may establish something, and then later go to war with that very thing because that thing has become an enemy of his. It's all very fascinating. God created the temple. He founded the temple. He founded the priesthood. And he sent his son to that very priesthood to tell them, you see this temple? It's all going down. Even though I founded it, it's all going down. God founded the church in Constantinople. And through that church, brought Christianity to the Russians and to the Serbs. And now those Russians those Russians would later on go to war against the very city, the very land that it received Christianity from, because that land went against God. It became an enemy of God because it had left God's religion. So just because God founded something does not mean he's going to exempt that very thing. Just because God has founded an institution does not mean that he's going to just put up with that institution when that institution has become evil. The Vatican is a great example. Yes, God founded the Catholic Church in Rome, absolutely. But the Catholic Church is turning to the Republic of Evil, the Republic of Sodom. Bottom line. And just look at Pope Francis saying we need civil unions, looking at all of these priests who support this evil. It's all very, very obvious. Well, Christ founded the church. Yeah, he did. He also founded the temple and he destroyed it. So what? Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.